Morning, mate.
Morning, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you? Oh, God, I keep every now and again I get this weird distorted thing. Is it distorted your end from me?
A tad. It's just on the
Okay,
further edge. It's not
I
over the
think it's
top.
something digital.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's only you and I here right now.
There we go. Did we have any yesterday?
We had five, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was okay.
All right.
It's
Well,
getting-
we'll get to the point where we're absolutely spot on with the
Yeah. It's all
volume.
good.
I think Paul. In fact, he'll probably want it when he gets home. He'll probably want to start promoting this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting though because yesterday I kind of struggled while I was on air. Then as soon as I got off air, I was all right. So I need to still figure out how I'm going to concentrate. It's quite tough, isn't it? Because really, you do need to be hyper focused with trading.
I believe so. Why do you think? So that wasn't the fact that the market just went in your direction, or looked better, or set up,
Well, yeah, you see
or
that the level that I was at yesterday was it ended up being a better level. Um, and the first one, I don't know whether I would have traded it. I think I probably would have walked away rather than trying to trade it. Um, but I don't know, and it's not, and it's just sometimes not as easy to recognise when it's actually there or whether um, just kind of keen to get something on air because otherwise why are people listening kind of thing, and which is I suppose if we can get to the point where it's not a trading thing and it's that's just a bonus, then maybe it will be easier because then I'll know that the other aspects of the content will be there.
yes, true. You got backup. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's have a look anyway. I mean, there's only you and I in, but I think we can still get ourselves prepared. I think the FTSE is going to be quite interesting today, so we can go into that.
What's the news, mate? What's happening with the news around the world?
Well, we've got the PM today in the conference. Yesterday, Boris Johnson did give his speech, and he's slamming the Chequers deal. Um, it's fascinating, really. What's going to happen there? Oh, here we go. We got yeah. Good job you checked. Actually, this is. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
So services PMI 930. So unfortunately, that already puts me on a bit of a holding before that news. But I may. Do you know what the other interesting thing was? Yesterday, when I didn't want to trade because it hadn't closed the gap, it would have
Yep.
turned out to be a decent trade because it dropped before it started to gain again. Um, Daily pivot is going to be an interesting point today, but yeah, services PMI. So that's going to make things a little bit tricky unless I'm going to go for upside again. I'm only interested in upside, but services PMI. Maybe that gives me an entry. Maybe if the market drags down to this point, then I'm going to look for another entry to the upside. But I probably, if it starts going down, then I'll wait until services PMI. If I start getting a shape to the upside, I'll trade it before and maybe hold or something or get out altogether, because really what I've got is still this kind of head and shoulders pattern. The difficult thing is where the right shoulder is. I think it's a little bit sloppy. That's definitely the neckline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it looks like the right shoulder is somewhere in this area here, maybe. That looks like a fairly obvious point there. So 95, so there's not a lot of room, if it opens early doors, but if it comes back, then I can trade it again one more time up there. But then I'll be potentially looking for some weakness. But I think we probably, you see, I've got a suspicion that this week is going to be a bit sticky, and I think that we might have a couple of days of floating around, and then into next week, I think that might be the time we start to see potentially some weakness. But it could well be another week of just messing about here, and then maybe not until towards the third week of the month it starts to drift to the downside. But we'll see.
We shall indeed. There's a bit of strength in, well, a bit of weakness in the dollar. Let's put it that way. So far today,
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm
Let's
seeing.
let's have a look at what you've got because You're going to be looking at euro and all things like that, aren't you?
Yep. All right, let's start with euro. Why not?
And the pound. We should analyse the pound as well. It did manage to bounce, didn't it, from that area?
Yep. Pretty much expected. And it's, so too the euro. If we have a look at the euro, and proximity to the bottom of the range that we've had since May, it's absolutely bang on that level, And daily pivots there as well today. I'm a little bit disappointed that this has gone so fast, because it's going to make it very, very difficult to get into this long now. What I would need to see is, of course, is a retracement of some kind. This is the daily chart I'm looking at, so there's plenty of opportunity for that on the smaller time frames. But I'm a little bit disappointed that this has gone so fast, because that's kind of the move I wanted to be in, if you like, but too tough to take, trying to catch the falling knife, as they say. And so no trade for me yet. I've really got to say, this is good movement in that, we've come off the low. We don't really have a reversal pattern on the 4-hour chart, that's for sure. I don't see that. It's not there. And I probably have to look a little bit tighter in to see if I can actually find one. Yeah, I've got a bit of a double bottom that has formed on the 30-minute chart, and there's that lower high. Higher low. I always get it upside down. There's the higher low, and bang, away it went. That's where you need to be getting into the market on that. There, I can't see a candle to get into that, unfortunately, unless, of course, I was trading the 30-minute charts very early in Asia session. There's a perfect candle there for me right there that I could have traded after a little bit of a doji. So there was an entry there, but I never, ever trade a 30-minute chart at that time of day, for a few reasons. Generally, there's no movement, there's no liquidity in the market at that time of day. This must have been a news release or something, I would imagine. What are we looking at in euro? Hard to think there'd be anything that would be significant at that time of day. Maybe it's just the market having a little bit of a run. Anyway, as I say, a little bit disappointing, because that's what I would like to have seen, in the next hour or so. That would have been very, very juicy. Now it's tough, because the move has pretty much been made, and I've now got to decide whether there's enough energy in the bulls to drive this even further. I think if I look at the 4-hour chart, that'll probably give me a better indication as to whether that's the case in point. So if I find something here in terms of a resistance level, it's not going to be there. There's really nothing through there at all to suggest that I've got a nice level from which to deliver this higher low that I'm looking for. So yeah, it's just going to be a little bit tough. I'm going to have to wait this one out and see how it forms on the smaller time frames. Not there for me, I'm afraid, mate. That's just a little bit frustrating, because I can't on this chart justify, even if I did get the higher low, going long here, because I don't have a reversal pattern. So it's only going to be the smaller time frame that give it to me, unfortunately. So cable, predictably, has bounced beautifully off that trend line that we had in place there yesterday.
Nice setup, actually, wasn't there, off the pivot?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, to trade that off that one bar is really, really tough, because you're going super counter momentum and pretty much counter trend as well.
Yeah.
So it looks good, but yeah, extremely tough to trade. The time to trade this is when price comes back and has a second look at this level, and then you can look to trade it. I think it's a far better trade to take.
Well, as I say, the interesting thing today is Theresa May and the services PMI.
Yes, okay.
That might change things. Hold on, mate. Give me one. You carry on. I'll be back in 1 second.
Putting this line through here, which is a little bit interesting, and that's giving me a break of that, a break back of that. So it's looking a little bit bullish, I've got to say. But again, I've got to see that higher low before I get into the market. The smaller time frames, again, are going to be my indicators. And I think we spoke about this yesterday, the big bullish engulfing bar, and we were looking for a higher low at some stage. It's not defined very well, I'd have to say. Maybe in here somewhere it looks a bit better, and certainly there it looks a bit better. But again, it went without warning, and there's no real bar there to trade off, in my humble opinion. And again, it's a bit of a shame because it's really the move I wanted to take. That's where we pick up that trade. And we spoke about this at length yesterday, when to get into these reversal or retracement patterns. And it is after a bullish engulfing bar such as we got on cable, and after a higher low that we got. But, you're guessing here because the candles aren't telling you anything. You're getting virtually two spinning tops together on that swing. If it is a swing, it's really just a slightly lower low than this one, but higher low than the one here, of course. So that's what we're looking for. But you've also got to have a candle, or I've got to have a candle. You can do what you like, of course. I've got to have a candle that tells me that this is going to go. And in this little section here, where we were looking to trade it long, after the bullish engulfing bar, we didn't really get a nice retracement to give us that higher low, and then we didn't get a bar that suggests we're ready to go long until this one, and that stopped on the daily pivot. So it's really not an easy task to get into this move. I think what I'd like to see now is another dip and a defined, absolutely defined higher low, because these aren't really, this is just consolidation, and to say that the market has retraced here is probably technically correct, but it just don't look the real McCoy to me. It's not what I want to see. What I want to see, is something like this, pull back to here, and then go. So no, I'm not ready here to jump into this long. Am I willing to trade it short, I suppose, then becomes the next question. And the answer is, why not? But with a query, you can see that the market in the last couple of hours is really indecisive and not doing too much at all. So that's typical, I guess, late in Asia session. And we wait for, I think, the opening to give us some sort of lead as to where we're headed next. But I would be willing to trade that back to here if it does set up. I don't really see it there at the moment. But I'd be willing to trade that back to here and then look for that higher low and a deeper retracement than we've already got at the moment. Where that would be too. Yeah.
I was just saying, it kind of looks like that monthly pivot would be another place to potentially look for the short, doesn't it? Because we've got a little breakout trend line right there too from was it the 28th of September, that 1 o'clock low?
of September, this low.
Yeah, that one, and then going into the next one. That seems to run quite going up. Yeah. No, to the that one. Yeah, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? It looks like a pretty nice confluence area.
Yeah, that was my question that I was just asking myself. If I do get into this long, where do I trade to? And that is the obvious answer to the question. 4-hour chart will probably give me a better indication as to where the confluence does exist. And if I draw a line across here somewhere, guess what I've got? Exactly that level. So
quite a nice fib there too.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the target area. That is the target area for sure. And if we can trade it to there and then look for a short, I think that's where we'll be headed. Just one thing we didn't touch on when was it, last Wednesday we spoke about this, but we haven't really spoken about it since. It was the FOMC breakout trade.
Oh yeah.
And actually that wasn't the entry. The entry was below the weekly pivot. It was about 23, I think, from memory. Yeah, just there. So we spoke about this being the range, that we were trading in, and I nominated the range as around about here somewhere and around about here somewhere. So entry long at that point with a stop loss there for the short, which was entry here, and a stop loss for the long at the same time. So neither triggered until when was it? Friday or Thursday? Friday, I think. No, it must have been Thursday. Well, we got Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, Friday, Thursday. Actually triggered on Thursday, late Thursday. It must have been early. Where are we? Wednesday, Tuesday.
Wednesday today.
What comes after? Monday, Friday, Thursday. Okay, that actually went on Thursday. Did it not? Yeah. Oh, that's right. It happened at the time I was talking about it, but we haven't really mentioned it since. So that has turned into a entry there, stop loss there, 80 pips of risk. You could have got nearly 3 to 1 out of that.
Yeah, it's great. Does that also work? You know, have you ever done that on the Aussie statement or anything like that?
No, because it doesn't. Well, I guess it can tend to, but I think I leave it to the big one because it can change trends. You know, the FOMC statement can be a trend setter, and that's why I've traded it. You know, I have traded on NFP. I've traded on, I think, pound interest rate, euro interest rate, but I haven't tried it on the Aussie, no, because I hate the Aussie. The Aussie always whipsaws, and if you're in a very tight range, which is generally the case on the Aussie before the interest rate announcement, you can be trapped into the wrong side of it very, very easily. But on FOMC, it's generally the case that you'll hit support or resistance, and then it'll move wherever it wants to move to. If it is going to whipsaw, if it moves in one direction, then you've got no problem. But if it is going to whipsaw like this one did, then you've got to pick the top of your range and then get above that. And same at the low side, you know, which we did successfully here. We got above the range with our entry, which didn't get triggered.
Yeah. And
we got below our range for the short entry, which again didn't get triggered until the market had sorted itself out. And that's exactly what you're looking for. And the trend begins. And as I said, you know, if you get, and I stress to say it is luck to a certain degree because we really don't know the outcome. But you've set the trap nicely by getting outside of the top and bottom of those ranges, and if you pick that range correctly, then the FOMC can and does deliver very, very often a nice result out of that. So yeah, I forgot to mention that, and of course I didn't trade it because I was sleeping, and SH12 happens. The trick is, of course, you've got to be in front of the market when it happens.
Yeah.
Because if the market's here at the time, you can get in and out there really badly, and you can get a bad burn, and the same down here. So the market's really got to be in and around the daily pivot when that announcement comes out, and the range has got to be, you know, confirmed either side of it. So that's the trade. We'll try it on a news event. We won't be here on Friday. I was going to say we do it on NFP, but it can be done on NFP. We'll wait and see. There's probably an interest rate next week. I should think we might be able to do it. We'll see.
Could be a bit of could be a bit of homework over the weekend, maybe.
Yep, sure.
Check that out.
Okay, so we've dealt with the euro. We've dealt with the pound. Quickly to the Aussie, and I did place an order on the Aussie this morning. And this is not a normal course of events for me because I've actually placed it on the weekly chart. So this is a bit of a, I don't know if it's speculator or not, but I like the setup. Trading long the Aussie at the moment doesn't sit well with me, I've got to say, because it's under extreme pressure and has been the entire year. I guess the thing with that is, at some stage it has to reverse, and perhaps these two candles here were a signal that may be about to take place, and that's in not last week but 2 weeks preceding that. And then we had the first seller bar that came back in after those two. Interesting that we've taken 2 bars now and we still haven't engulfed the previous week, and of course that will be, to me, the absolute line in the sand. But you can see where price is battling at the moment with these lows here, and for that reason I think there is definitely room for another rally here. We've already had one. If we get another rally, we'll be certainly looking for maybe this level here, and if we hit that level here, then I'm in profit, and if it does reverse, we're away, and that's the basis upon which I've taken.
Could you make your bars a bit bigger?
Sure.
I think because the pivots, it's yeah, cool.
Okay, so it's not quite a double cross, mate.
Yeah.
But it's near to it. I would love to have seen this being a decisive bar rather than crossing the monthly pivot than it is, but it'll do. It's not so dusty, and it does give us a false break, if you like, of a support area, which is running through here, if I'm not mistaken. So there it is. We've had the break of that area, which is equivalent to these lows, and now that looks to be potentially a false break of that area. And if that's the case, I'm sure that we probably want to go with a measured move here, would we? Ooh, wrong thing.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's a bit
it
hard.
does look like it's on an area of support, but it's not a hugely clean area.
No. Oh, let's not do that.
You see, when I look at this, when I look at the monthly, and I see that we're at similar levels to back in 2016, or you know, around about December. Interestingly, because you know it's a similar type of year, you know, similar type of time of year. It came down in 2016, and it looks like it started to actually rally. Is that 2016 December? Maybe not. Let me just double check this.
Here, we're at rally.
Yes.
2016, as I recall, was a good year for everything except the dollar, the US dollar, that is.
Right.
2017 rather, not 2016. So that probably was the start. That would probably be January 2 or so.
Yeah. Interesting. So it was actually January when it started to rally, and October, November. You know, we could have 2-3 months of meandering down here, and then actually look to pick up something significantly higher with the Aussie, maybe in January again.
Yeah, look, it's hard for me to think that way, I've got to say. It really is hard for me to think that way, but this has got form here. You know, this level has got better form than you anticipate. If you come right across here into 2006, it's been both support and resistance through here, through this area. I don't think it's as dusty as a level as we might think it is, and you know, it's certainly the bottom, if you like, of this range that we went into after that rally started in 2017. So yeah, I quite like it. It's about what I can't think of is that it's actually a long-term good move to be trading the Aussie long. But there you go. That's the difficulty I have with it.
Yeah, too many other bits and pieces. Just having some news about Tesco from the UK retail sales. Looks like they've beaten estimate, which might be something to put in the back pocket for a later announcement on the economy generally. You know, some of these bigger companies are fairly good barometers of their particular sector. Next tends to be a decent barometer, and Tesco can be a pretty good barometer as well. The global markets haven't done too well at all really today. The Nikkei's down. I believe the Hang Seng's down as well. So I think it could be a difficult difficult trading day. But I've got to say, if have you finished your analysis, mate?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if you had it set up to trade the open, but you're just about to tell us.
Yeah, well, you know, the difficult thing about trading this open is that we would be trading possibly into a bit of an area, because we are looking for the longs here. I'm not sure how much room there is. There doesn't look too much in the way. You know, I'm not sure where it holds support. You know, if we bring up a fib, I don't think that's going to be enough in the way of detail. Maybe it comes back to 50%, so we could be looking at around about 66, something like that. But I think I'd prefer to actually see this breakout, then come back and then trade it. So the open itself will have to close, will have to get above this area, and then come back and then make that a tradable setup, because, you know, actually trading, nice morning star here. So, you know, there looks like there was a little bit of strength coming into this morning. As I say, a little bit tricky because of the other markets, the hangover from some of those other markets. The FTSE, the CAC was down, I think, yesterday. Is that futures? No, yeah, the CAC closed down, the DAX closed down. So there was a little bit of negativity on the whole right across the board yesterday with the European equity. So I'm not too sure whether we get what we need here, but if we can maybe pop forward and come back, then I will try and take this one on long, because I'm still interested in the longs. I think that the market, generally speaking, is just a little bit tricky right now. I don't see anything that clear. I do see this reversal pattern setting up, but I don't think it's ready to go as yet. So while it's not ready to go, I still think that there's a potential that that the pattern changes, or we get pushes to the upside. So so you know, we are kind of waiting on it, but and we're a little bit tight in our range. So anything that that is taken on here is going to have to be really precisely true, because there's not a lot of room, you know, at this stage before we kind of like hit our first level. 74.95 would definitely be a level that that I would see some easing back again. So if we do manage to come forward, I see easing back. I'd quite like to take it here, then get another bite of that and see if we can get through next time. But that's the plan. But as I say, it's a little bit tricky to read at this moment in time, the FTSE. You know, that these consolidation areas, particularly when they start to look like a reversal pattern, do tend to be that little bit harder. Now, you know, I won't discount the fact that we've got the Conservative Party conference, and I won't discount the fact that it's the PM today, and I won't discount the fact that we've got Services PMI, which is the most important. Oh, there she goes. So she's already popped up higher. So let's see if it comes back. I mean, this is pretty good. You know, so far this is pretty good. So if this can pop back down here, then we've got a trade onto the upside, and it looks like it should come back. You know, whether it does or not, I don't know. Interestingly, we didn't see that daily pivot yesterday. You know, that the market got pretty much nowhere near it, you know, nowhere near what I needed for a daily pivot test, and I was after that daily pivot test, but it just didn't occur. And the daily pivot from yesterday is exactly where we are now. So I would like to see some weakness here. But as I say, any weakness that comes in, I'm going to be taking this one on. I quite like the FTSE for some upside, but I've got to get a good price because there's not a great deal of room. So we just have to see how this unfolds.
There's no thought of trading the pullback?
Because I'm after the long, I think that would be quite dangerous. I don't. The issue with the pullback is I don't see a chance of it going through here. The thing about going for upside is I see a chance of us going through here. So it means I've got something that I can hold on to. With the pullback, you know, not that I would say that to anybody that they shouldn't trade the fade. I think that trading the fade is a great strategy. You know, when you kind of get your head around, I think it's a really good strategy. But I do also think it can be quite dangerous, and you really do need to be right on top of your psychology and emotions at that point. you know, I can see that the best point would be somewhere around here, and plus the fact we've got to recognise that that services PMI is due out in an hour and a half as well. So you know, this interestingly suggests that this cross is 15 minutes after services PMI. So that's not only the sweet spot in price, but also the sweet spot in time. So if that was to happen, it'd be great. But it doesn't mean that I will discard this, because I still want this to the upside. So it comes back down here, then I will give this one a pop.
It looks to be following your instructions pretty much so far.
Yeah, so far. We're looking for somewhere in the region of 85 to 80. Anything as low as 77 is fine. Stops at this stage are going to have to be right down there, which will give us which will give us an even money trade with the potential of us drifting higher as well. So there is a chance that we get in something here, but you know, as always, we need to wait for price, and as always, it does have the potential then for us to miss. But let's see if we can get the right price. At 84 is really what we need. But this has been the market. You know, this has been the market. The market, it just hasn't played ball for me. It's kind of done what I anticipated when it comes down to direction, but not down to price. Except for this one. You know, I did manage to trade this one. I traded one up here. Where did I trade it? I think I traded a long. Yeah, I traded a long somewhere around here, which obviously went south. I traded this one, which went up. So this one more than made up for this one, and it was a good trade. But now we are waiting for another decent level to trade from. And you know, yesterday I wanted to go short, but I wanted to go short up here, and it never saw that price again. And I suppose this is quite a nice example of trying to trade up to the area that I wanted to go short at. Because all I was really doing here is going long so I could go short, but it didn't work out because you know, I've got to trust momentum, I've got to trust direction, because the direction was still down, and these trades just end up being too dangerous. So really, to go back to the original question about trading the fade, if I go in here short, whereas when I'm looking for a long, what if this happens again? Which it could. You know, it could just pop forward here without reply, and then I'll just be kind of annoyed that I didn't just wait, because that's going to be much better for me to do. Wait for my direction to shape up, because realistically, if this does pop forward, I'm not going to sort of like say I've missed the trade for the day. I'll just assume that I've missed this particular run, but the trade will give me something, and I'm quite happy to wait till for an hour and a half to trade this, because that would be a little bit safer, because by that time the news and data will be out, and I should have at least 2 or 3 hours before the PM comes and makes a speech, which could potentially move this market. It may not. Boris Johnson ended up not being quite as important for the pound as Dominic Raab on the day before. So so you never know. You know, you never know what's going to happen. She will talk about Brexit. But is she going to have anything new to say? Maybe. There might be a little bit more buckling that she's willing to concede. But she's just, you know, watching the Conservative Party conference yesterday. This whole deal is in such huge trouble, huge trouble. You know, she's trying to keep a brave face on it all. But Boris Johnson is all over it, and he's incredibly popular. And you know, he's still very, very popular within his own party and his own membership. He is probably the best speaker in the Conservative Party, so he could be incredibly convincing as well. But he's not the leader, you know. So you know, there's all these problems internally with the Conservative Party, and it just means that without them, you know, effectively sorting themselves out, then a Brexit deal is going to look less and less likely, and some of them are quite happy on this WTO rules, World Trade Organization rules probability. They're quite happy with that, but that's not good for the country, and it certainly will not be good for the pound. Whether that ends up being good for the FTSE is another question. Do we get that decoupling, or is there an aspect of of people recognizing that business will suffer, because we have a few different indices over here. We have the FTSE 350, and the FTSE 350 is an internal market, and that internal market is much more affected by the EU trade deals, because the internal market tends to do more deals with the EU. So the FTSE 350 might suffer, but the FTSE 100, being more global, may not. But it will do if they can't sort out any trade deals, you know.
Fait accompli, isn't it? There's no escaping. Can't duck away from it.
No, exactly. So we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. But there is we will play the waiting game, mate. I mean, it's got to come back to at least this price here before I can really get interested, possibly there. So I'm looking at 85, 86 or something. It's got to come back to that point before I can get interested. And as I say, if it goes, it may well go without me. But time and time again, it's one of those that picking the direction is not so much the challenge for me. I'm pretty good at that, getting the direction, but I can't control the market's price points, unfortunately. And if it doesn't come back to my price points,
mate, I might ask for your assistance then on this pound yen that I'm looking at, because I'm really struggling with direction today.
Oh, okay.
Let's take a look if you can throw me the screen.
Yeah, sure.
Finished, of course.
Yes.
Okay. So, as you know, I'm waiting for a lower high here to get back into shorts. But what I'm seeing, and what I'm seeing in spades here, is you can see the two lines that I've got on this chart, two horizontal lines, which is really depicting, the range in which pound yen has been comfortable for not quite a month, it's only a couple of weeks, really, isn't it? Only a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. But it is comfortable there, and I'm banking on these three black crows to throw this down here at some stage. And I've been trying to trade this, and it just hasn't set up, apart from the first time, which was back here when we got a little bit of money out of it, but it wasn't the time apparently. And then we've had another couple of cracks at it, and again we're not getting there. But this was a nice bar as well yesterday, so maybe this is the time that we look for this lower high. Maybe it comes off the weekly pivot here as I've got it. But the other thing I see is that we've crept back into the range, and that gives me a completely different complexion on a shorter time scale. And if I were to see a higher low here now, for instance, that's giving me an indication that we're headed back here. So that's why I'm directionally defunct, I suppose, at the moment. I'm really not seeing which way we're going. I guess the candles will tell me eventually, but at this point in time, it's very much a gambling game. If I have a look at the smaller time frames, sorry, Matt, if you've got an opinion there.
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you what I probably would be anticipating with this one. Straight off the bat, what I see is let me give you the exact numbers here.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say
one more.
Back down here.
Yep.
That one.
No, the one you were at, the previous one. That one there, yeah. That's what I see. So I like that, and what that leaves me with is price action which is above that area, and I want to see at 10 o'clock, because this is a 4-hour chart, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for me to trade this, what I want to is the services PMI to come out and either well, doesn't matter what the number is, but for it to affect the pound negatively. And by 10 o'clock, I'd want to see this bar turn into a shooting star and be below or certainly around that trend line and daily pivot. And then I'd want to trade it short. But if I didn't see that, then I'd probably leave it alone.
Yeah, the interesting part is pretty much exactly as you're saying for me as well. If we get a close above that line, then I'm instantly disinterested in a short.
Yeah.
If it's a bull bar that is pretty much as it is now, in particular, I suppose, if it closed above the weekly pivot, which is the white line,
yeah,
and then we got a pullback to the daily pivot and that trend line that's been broken, I'd be bullish. I'd be bullish at that point. So
if it closed above there, and then pull back to the trend line and the daily pivot, yeah. That looks pretty good, actually, doesn't it? Yeah. I think you've got some options there, because if it closes higher, you're looking for the long, and if it closes down there, then you're looking for the short. The only problem is if it closes kind of somewhere in the middle.
And
certainly,
guess where it'll close.
Yeah, well, do you know? I mean, that horizontal level where last week's pivot was, I think is a better line, actually. Yeah, because there's some closes on that there looks like that looks to me like the shelf. It doesn't look to me like it's about the lows. It looks to me like it's about those close prices. So so that's the level that I'd have in. Yeah. Around there, yeah, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? So if it comes down, and it could do, we've got a significant number coming up. So with a significant number, there's every chance that this could close below that level or below that daily pivot. So 9:30, we might start to see some movement in this. So within the next hour an hour and a bit. We could well see some movement in this, and then you may well have that setup that you need. And I tell you what, if that does show itself, then I'm going to be trading this one as well.
You'll be with me, okay?
Yeah.
Now that's the easy part. Now here's the hard part. If you're going to trade it intraday on let's say 30-minute charts, you're getting a bear signal here straight away. Off the good part is that this support area that we've got in place precludes me from actually entering here. I can't trade into that area. It's too strong.
Yeah.
We've just proved that with this line here that we've put on the chart. This support trend line, the daily pivot, it's all happening here. It's too much to ask of a 30-minute candle for mine to get through here. So I think I have to stay out on the 30-minute chart and concentrate on the 4-hour and let it tell me the story.
Do you know if you go down to a 15? I mean, I don't know. This might be getting a bit too low for you, but if you go down to a 15,
it's very seldom someone has ever said that. It's too low for me.
Then I'd kind of want to see that trend line break as well. The 3rd of October low.
Yeah.
4 o'clock, is it?
Up here somewhere.
A bit lower. Well, the first one back. Yeah, down there. Yeah, I'd want to see that as well, and then then it starts to kind of and interestingly, I'd want to see that first before I started looking at the long term, before I could come back to the short term and trade it, because that in itself won't be enough, but that would be a really good hint of where price is potentially going right up until the 4-hour close. So yeah, I think if I started to see that, then I'd be interested in this.
Yeah, I'm just not interested in trading in this area at the moment, and I won't. But I agree with you. It's going to be a good indicator as to what's going to happen next, I think. So we'll keep my eye on it, but I don't see a trade there.
Yeah, the FTSE 100 is looking pretty good. I can't trade it, but the FTSE actually looks like it's potentially going to crash through the. It could potentially crash through this upper level. Interestingly, with this one, actually, if it does crash through this upper level and it comes back, then I've got the same price. So I've got no reason but again, it's just not it's not giving me what I want. I can tell you that 56 56 out of the 100 shares in the FTSE 100 are currently bullish. So so there's extra evidence for some upside here. It's just getting that price. It's just getting the price that we need. If we come down here a little bit, then we've got a chance. I mean, the services PMI is a bit of a hangover, which is a problem. I will shoot the screen back to you, mate, because this is the other thing about this this pound. That
Yep.
you know, is the pound going to move significantly before services PMI? Is there going to be speculation about that? Because that could potentially be a driver for the FTSE today. You know how the pound moves. But there's I don't need too much in the way of evidence that I want to go long at this current time on the FTSE. But my question is about waiting. You know, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and that's the issue with this stuff. You know, sometimes you trade the FTSE and it will go into the news and give you the move into the news and then potentially beyond. And other times it's the news which actually gives you the price.
Quoted today is going to deal a little bit with this today.
This is good.
It doesn't deal with it wholly, but it's got a little bit of mention in there as well. So yeah, look, I'll wait for that quote before I actually say anything about that.
Yeah, okay, mate. That sounds good. We'll get to the quote at 9:30, shall we? Oh, in fact, we'll get to candles at 9:30, and then we'll get to the quote.
Yeah, sure. Too easy.
So okay, that sounds.
The pound is going to move, right? That's your question.
Before 9:30. Yeah, right. Before 9:30.
We're now at 8:18, right? So we've got an hour and 12 minutes to go.
Yeah.
If that were to be the case, and the pound does move, do you want me to take the screen, or if I've got it?
You got it.
Right. Okay. The only thing for me for the pound today is where, not if. And I think we've probably established that as monthly pivot. And if I could trade to there, I would, but I don't see that as an option until I get a nice little pullback. On the 30-minute chart, that may be possible, and that's really all I would be looking for here. A pullback back to the daily pivot. When I see a line like this running through here, or a line of resistance running through here, like so, I want to attack it because one of two things is going to happen when we hit that. It's going to bounce off it, or it's going to break it. I don't think this is the time for the break. I think maybe the next time is, and we'll get momentum off the daily pivot. So that's what I'll be looking for. I'll be looking for this as a target. I'm not sure we're going to see that before that 9:30 mark, mate. That's and I guess I'm with a bit of bias. I don't want to see it because I won't be able to trade it. I don't see any way that I can get into this. There is another line that probably we could look at, and I'll just pinch this. We could look at that one there, and that kind of backs me up with the daily pivot and this green line that you can see here. That's where I want to see price, right there, and then I can look to trade it. And it's going to give me one of two things. Again, it's going to give me a bounce off the backside of this, or it's going to give me a break of it. It gives me a break of it, and then I get a back test of the confluence area, just as I'm looking for here, a back test after the break here. That's going to tell me which way this is going to go, but it's not going to happen before 9:30. And I guess the crime about that is the move may just, the move off the news may just take that away, and we'll finish up here anyway with the news, or down here with the news. So when news is coming, it's a little bit on the okay, do I, don't I side of things, but there's a whole lot of stuff you've got to take into consideration, like where is momentum, where is sentiment of the day, have I really got to set up, all of those sorts of things that you have to take into consideration. So I don't really need to jump into the market because I don't have all of those things going for me at the moment. So Until I
Yep.
do, it's just a matter of wait and see. Maybe the euro set up, but again, I kind of have the right scenario here, but I've got too much indecision. You can see we've got a low test bar, if you like, or a spinning top. That's what's that, Harami they call those? Is that an Harami?
The inside, yeah, that would count. That would certainly count.
Yep. Okay, then we've got an inverted hammer or high test bar, if you like, and then we've potentially got a hammer sitting here, totally out of context, of course, or it may develop into a spinning top as well. So that's really telling me that the market is waiting for something. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's waiting for the indicator from the pound news. This is interesting that it has come to this level at a very rapid rate through the Asia session, and the market has just decided. Well, you can almost hear the market thinking, saying, "Well, WTF? What was that all about? Where did that come from?" And that's, I think, what we're seeing here. We're seeing the market just thinking, hang on, were we really thinking short this cross? So we're really thinking long this cross. Maybe we were. Maybe we've got a shoulder here. Maybe we've got a shoulder here, and maybe we've got a neckline here. Maybe that's the case. So,
well, interestingly, I think when it comes down to the pound, there are potential calls for 120 the dollar if no deal comes into play, because how affected the sterling will be by the lack of trade. So you're absolutely right, but things really did turn on a sixpence, because it's so tricky to know, because about as I say, about a month ago now, I think it was Barnier or Tusk, or one of them came out and said that they were pretty close. They were a lot closer than people thought. But since that time, Chequers, the deal that the PM wants to bring forward has been slammed by prominent Brexiteers and prominent ministers. Theresa May's had resignations. I know that happened before, and Boris Johnson's kind of come into town with his Canada Plus. And also, Jeremy Corbyn's come out and said that he would potentially offer a second referendum. He wants to stay in the customs union. There's so many different ways to turn. The big problem is that the country's so split that Theresa May is just finding it very, very difficult to kind of get anything through and get any support. So the EU must be looking the other side and thinking, if we play this right, then they probably will have another referendum on this. So they are at effectively they're under no obligation to give us a good deal, and they're under no pressure because the government in themselves or the country in itself is adding pressure to the PM. But then if you hear sort of like Dominic Raab and Theresa May and even some of the European member states as well, they're not painting such a bleak picture. So some of it is kind of bleak. I think the Northern Ireland issue is the biggest problem, and they can't seem to find a fix for it. But you listen to them enough, and they don't. The pictures doesn't seem to be painted as bleak as it would first appear. So it really does.
Aren't bad, are they?
And what for the UK?
Yeah.
The economics are fine, but everybody knows that that will change very, very swiftly if we leave the EU without a deal. It's more about that.
You know what you're describing to me?
What's that?
I was just standing there listening to you, and I think, hang on a minute. That is so true of what Australia's just been through with their PM. Couldn't get a bill through, couldn't do this, unpopular within his own party, and they turfed him. Gone.
Yeah.
Another new Prime Minister, I think our 7th in 10 years or something like that. That's got to be a world record. You've got a certain chap in the United States, and the Australian economy is going fine. You've got a certain chap in the United States who is despised by all and sundry, it would appear.
Yeah.
Yet he's dragging the economy up with him, if you like, and they're calling for his scalp as well.
Yeah.
What is going on? You know, that's just ringing clear to me.
Do you know what's interesting? I think you know, economics and world economics. You know, they're gonna shift direction like a tankard. You know, it's going to take a long time for things to shift. But there may well be a shift in global power. We have seen, you know, China are sticking their head, you know, right above the area now, and sit and appear to be fairly able to generate a lot more in the way of global power. And who knows, maybe it is not the end, but maybe we're starting to see the decline of the West. There's been a lot of things changing recently, but maybe we're starting to see the decline of the West. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe the fact that America aren't the biggest player anymore, or certainly they are fighting for that crown. China have come up. Chinese outlook for you know, the global outlook has changed quite dramatically. It's still a dictatorial society from what I gather, but you know, their outlook has changed somewhat. But maybe we are starting to see the change of world order. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we also have things going on in the euro and the eurozone, which are incredibly worrying. You know, the UK wants to trade with the EU. But actually, you know, we got this problem in Italy now. And what was I reading earlier? That if at this point GDP is something like debt to GDP is something like 140%, and the yields, the debt that they have to pay back at this stage is sustainable. But if those yields start to creep up at all, then they're not going to be able to pay it back. And Italy's, I'm not sure how big a player in the euro is, but from memory, I think it's fifth. I think it's the fifth largest economy in the euro bloc. So in the eurozone. So if they were to go down, who's going to want to be part of that club? You know, so there are things that just at play here that keep rearing their heads. You know, we're 10 years from the global financial crisis, and we haven't had a significant economic downturn. You know, we're in that kind of cycle phase, aren't we, where we start to see this, you know, trade wars with China, but while America try and control their growth, you know, it's going to play a part. The continued problems in the eurozone seem to be rearing their head just at the wrong time. Brexit is you know, is kind of is all happening. It seems like it seems like we're ready for the next clear out. Whether that's or not, I don't know, you know, but if that's how it appears. Gold, my God, Julian was good yesterday. That gold absolutely rocketed. Did you see it yesterday?
No, I didn't look at gold, mate. No.
Oh, mate, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Have a look at the chart and you know, I looked at it. I beg your pardon?
He was talking Aussie gold more than dollar gold.
Well, no, he said that would be the best, but he did say he did point out 1202. I remember him saying it goes above 1202, it's going to fly, but he was long gold.
Yes, that's right.
He's been long gold for a while. But if you, in fact, let me show you gold. I looked at this last night, and I was
into your price, by the way.
Yes, we're getting close. We're getting close, but we haven't got. We need a setup now. So this was. Actually, do you want to check 30-minute bars, and we'll come back to this?
Yep, sure.
Okay.
All right. I don't think there's anything too exciting to look at, to be fair, but let's do it just to make sure. All right, we're on pound yen, and like I said before, we're in a trap here. In my opinion, we're in a trap. We've got a nice bearish bar here off the weekly pivot. If this support level wasn't there, gee, I'd be very keen to be looking at that. I'd be looking at that, not trading that candle, but I'd be looking to trade this one. And it's simply not there yet. I'd like to put my entry here and my stop here. I think that would be the way to go with this, but I'm not trading into the support level. I don't think that's a wise thing to do. So that's pound yen. The Aussie has come to test these lows by the look of it, and looks all over a bear run is on the way, but that can end very, very quickly, of course, when we do hit this support level. But it looks for now like it wants to absolutely smash through it. And what's the space? There's absolutely no way for me to trade that at this point. That's a fact. You may have looked at this area and thought, okay, break, back test, maybe there's an entry there for you somewhere. Not on my entry radar, but we'll see how that goes. I'm actually waiting for along the Aussie, but on a weekly chart, so it doesn't really matter what happens today. I'm looking for it on the before. And pound US dollar, I think that will almost certainly be waiting for news, and if it does come down to this area that I'm looking at in a flurry, then we may get something before the news, but it's going to be tough. And the euro, yeah, I need to see that down here as well. Pull away from this area and then come back to it, fine, but I don't want to trade it from where it is. Well, I don't think I do anyway. How did it look on the top of the hour? When you look at the hour chart, yeah, doji, spinning top if you like. But yeah, there's no trade there for me. Although I do like this for a long to this area at some stage. I just prefer to trade it from down here. So nothing to trade, mate, at this point. And
Okay.
You're pretty much on your level.
Yes, so let's talk about it, because we are at the level that that we need to trade it now. We can't do anything just yet, and the reason that we don't do anything just yet, I mean, it becomes the closer this gets to 9:30, the less opportunity we're going to have before 9:30. So we can't do anything just yet. What we need to see is this given the ability just to show that it's holding. We can trade it before 9:30 as long as it shows it's holding, because right now there is a level here and there's a level down here. There's also just maybe some carving out here. If we think about trend, if this is going into an uptrend, then the horizontal level obviously is the first point of call. You know, this breakout level is the first point of call. The second point of call is the lows to kind of keep the trend intact. So I've got to make sure that I'm not going to hop in here, particularly when the bar looks like this. I mean, I can tell you that you know, there's around about 50% of stocks to the upside, 50% downside on the FTSE 100. So we don't really have clear and concise direction at this particular time. So what I want to see is this drift back down here, as it has done, and just prove it's holding on some short-term time frames. Or if I could see, I can't actually draw it because I haven't got the drawing tool on this this program. But or if I could see this come back down here, bounce, and give me something that looks like it's holding on this half hour, then I'll look for the next dip to take it on board. I won't need anything else, but I need to see. So I will use the bars in a slightly different way. I won't necessarily use them for entry. I will use them for information, and what I want to see is the information that this is the area to trade from. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to put an order at the high and a stop at the low. It might mean that I'm just going to I'm going to look for another dip into the bar and then just take it somewhere within the bar, because I know then if it goes through the highs, then I've got a decent area of potential support if it goes up and back down again. So so I just need to see just to make sure this is going to hold. Now I can do this on a 5-minute chart. So you know, when I look at this on a 5-minute chart, I'm happy enough to kind of to see you know, some strength from here, but I can't really do it on the half hour, because it's going to be too close to this this resistance point by the time that this has given me some sort of bullish bar. So just going to wait it out, mate, and see if we get the hold to start with, and then see if we get something of a setup. But you're right, we are exactly where I want it. I'm kind of ready and I'm poised, but I don't want to get in. I don't want to get in here if I can get in down here.
Sure.
So I'm going to give it at least another 4 minutes and see if the 5 will give me an entry. But I do need to question my timing. Services PMI. How's the pound doing? Very. It's pretty stationary, isn't it?
Yeah, not doing too much, but that's kind of where I thought it might be, on hold until this news does come out. Looking that way.
As I say, these are always tricky because ignoring it here might start to see it go. You know, get up there and able to maybe take a little bit of profit and then see if services PMI really starts to kick it forward. But getting in too early could see some issues in itself. But I will trade a 5-minute bar because it's the price I want. Let me just see what this is here. Yeah, so 2.5 minutes. I just want to see whether this draws in, and if it does, then I'll be taking a trade to the upside and hedging my bets and see what happens. Stops are going to be down at this level here. I'm going to be it's going to be around about a 1-to-1, trying to take some profit, and then we'll see if it breaks out, if it goes up, that is. But yeah, I do quite like it here.
So do you want to hang there till that happens?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's 2 minutes. Let's we may as well come back if you've got anything to look at. We can look at it. If not, then I'd have a look at gold. Have a look at that gold chart. In fact, let's do that because I can do that my end if you like.
All right. Yeah. You're right.
So this was gold yesterday, and Julian has been. So this is yesterday's bar, and I'm really impressed with this because this is, you know, ultimately a break to the downside, and then something to the upside, and then a bar that you know, that's an umbrella line. So either side of that bar is going to suggest that you know, it's going to break in one direction or another. But this is the hourly, and when we start to see the hourly, I think intraday which is where Julian was talking, that there was signs, signals, and evidence that that this was a decent potential hold area. That's what we had, and it's flown, and you know, and he talked about this point here, going above that point, that this is going to go. So there's still opportunities with gold.
Trade it off the bounce.
Yeah, potentially trade it off the bounce, but very, very good trading, has to be said. Absolutely brilliant trading. I thought great call. You know, I liked how he kind of like he had his evidence. I thought that was very clever, that the way that he had his evidence. Right, I'm going to take a trade here in the FTSE 100. I need it just. I want it to come back a little bit. The problem is I don't like trading. I don't care what chart it's on. I don't like trading these bars. It's a terrible entry, in my opinion. So I've got to wait just a little while longer. But these don't tend to be good entries. I prefer to see maybe just a little bit more of a dip down. I'll tell you what. Actually, do you want to take the screen a little while? Let me just have a think here.
Sure.
I'll do a little bit more work here.
I'll do that. And all I need to do is go. Bingo. There. Okay. Should have it now. I'm going to have a look at the 4-hour charts because I'm not seeing anything that I'm really enamored with on the intradays. until we get these pullbacks that I'm looking for. So let me take a look at these 4-hour charts and see if I can come up with something that may even be tradable. When I look at this one, I'm looking for this bar to be a little bit more decisive than it is. And what I see here, this is the euro, by the way. What I see here is the bottom of a range. Okay, let me show you that range a little clearer. So that range for me is going. Well, you can go to any time frame you like actually, because we've got a range no matter where we go. You can see this bigger range in here. It's massive, and we're pretty much at the bottom of that at a pivot. And as I said before, the level is perfectly good, perfectly sound. After this big sell-off, that's where we had our first turnaround, if you like. And we've been bobbling up and down inside that range ever since, apart from this fairly substantial breakout in August. So, are we going to bounce off it again? I have no reason to think that won't be the case, to be frank. And for that reason, I am looking for a long, but I need some evidence to suggest that that is going to be the case. And that evidence, as always, is going to come with a little reversal signal. And I don't see that on the 4-hour chart, which is a little bit of an issue. If I'm creative, however, and I don't really recommend that you try and make a case for something that isn't there, because something is there. I know something's there, and I just need to find it. I need to find a way into this, and that's it. This is the way here. No, I don't have a chart reversal pattern, but what I do have is I have the potential for this to be a false break of this trend line. And that's exactly what I'm looking for right now. So if this candle closes, this 4-hour candle closes back on this line, or even back to this line, even better still, then I will look to trade this line. I'd like to have a candle that gives me a good reward, of course, and the reward comes in this area. I don't think there's any doubt about that in my mind. This is the target, around about the 116.45 mark. So if I can get into here with, say a candle of that size, or even that size, probably better still, because it's a better retracement. That's the trade. So a 30 odd pip risk for 55 pip reward. It's nearly a 2 to 1, and if we don't come down to there, it'll be 2 to 1 plus. So that's going to be the trade for me. Now that doesn't mean I'm a bull euro. What it does mean is I'm just trading what I see in front of me. What I see in front of me is the bottom of that range, and the fact that there's a reason to think that this can go long, and the reason is that potential false break of that area. So that's what I'll be looking to trade on the euro on the 4-hour chart. And we'll go and have a look now at cable. Cable is a little bit tricky, as we've been talking about, and the reason it's a little bit tricky is because of this news that's now 45 minutes away. And I think that will probably make I won't say a mess of this, but it might just disrupt what I'm looking for. And what I'm looking for here is something very similar, though I don't want to see it at the end of the day. I'd rather see this go and continue down to maybe this area here and increase my profits on this trade. But most definitely from an intraday point of view, I see a retracement is underway. And where does that retracement end? Well, it could end here at this low, which is pretty much what we're testing at the moment, what we're coming off. But I think more than that, there's a far better level here. And this is the one we were talking about before. So, monthly pivot is an obvious choice for me if I am to trade this long, to scale out big time. And then perhaps look to scale back in to the short that I'm already in. So that's my thought process on the pound, but I don't see any way to trade that at this point in time on the 4-hour chart. And that's probably a good thing, because as I say, the news may disrupt this
Yeah, do you know that's what I was just looking at these charts, and that's my concern. My concern is that I haven't got a great deal of time here, and services PMI it's a significant number for the UK and the UK economy. That you know, the FTSE it did move to the upside from that bar, and maybe this is going to be missed. But I think at the minute I've got this kind of, I'd rather wish I were in than wish I were out, and I've that's just stuck at the back of my head. Services PMI. I don't really like trading into news when it's this close, and it wouldn't matter if. Do you know what? The thing about this for me is the news is out in 45 minutes is one aspect, but my issue is that there's resistance here. You know, it's just got no room to break, and my suspicion usually is, you know, why does it break before news? You know, why does it get through levels that have managed to hold it prior before? Why does it do that? And and when I can't find a reason, it makes me think it probably won't break before news, and it may, but then I can potentially pick it up on the way back rather than the way there. So what I'm wondering, there's two ways I think that this could be traded from here on in, and that's you know, wait and see where it is just before that data, put a buy stop at the high, and put the stops at the lows, giving it enough room for whipsaw. I don't think services PMI should cause too much whipsaw, but stops at the highs if it's still down here and we get to fairly decent bars. I think that's one way, or the other way is if it goes up before services PMI, see if just before it starts to dip again, and then just take it to the upside, because I know I want upside, but having a level is one thing, but I don't, you know, it's the timing is the problem. Having a level and a potential setup is one thing, but it's the timing which is the problem. But it certainly looks to me, you know, that you don't need a lot of evidence. You don't need to see the candles form sometimes. Sometimes you just need to see, you know, what price does from specific levels, and price has already bounced from this level down here. So obviously there was enough interest down there to try and take this one on, and it has proved to be the case. But I think unless you get in at this absolute low here, which doesn't give you a setup bar, then risk to reward starts to kind of drift away a little bit, and that's the other issue. You know, 5 minute candle, you can't really put stops down here when you've got a news release, so you've got to put it all the way down here, and then you don't have the risk to reward. You know, so I had to decide not to take that and look for an opportunity later in the day. It's one of those that could end up hurting missing, but you know, we're only 3 days into the month, and there's plenty of opportunities. If this one does go without me, I'm just going to have to accept it. So unfortunately, mate, nothing to do.
That's okay. Let me share with you some words of wisdom then, shall I?
Yes, let's do that.
Which is not particularly out of context. And here's something for you to ponder. And you can relate this directly to trading around news, if you like. First, the fundamentals should suggest that there is an imbalance of supply and demand, which could result in a major move. Now, we'll interpret that into a currency situation in a tick. That's more into a stock market or equity market type of situation. Second, the chart must show that the market is moving in the direction that the fundamentals suggest. And thirdly, when the news comes out, the market should act in a way that reflects the right psychological tone.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
How do you interpret that, mate? You give yours and I'll give mine.
Okay, so if I'm going back to.
Sorry, before you do.
Yeah.
Guess who said that?
Oh, first the fundamentals suggest that there is an imbalance.
This is a quote that I wanted to give you yesterday, and I didn't know who wrote it at the time.
Okay. All right, let me read it one more time. First, the fundamentals should suggest that there's an imbalance of supply and demand, which could result in a major move. Second, the chart must show that the market is moving in the direction that the fundamentals suggest. Second, the chart must show that the market is moving in the direction that the fundamentals suggest. Third, when the news comes out, when the news comes out, the market should act in a way that reflects the right. So it's somebody that is a technical trader. I was going to say Warren Buffett, but he's not really a technical trader. So I'm going to pass on him, and I am going to say
Same dude.
same guy from yesterday.
Yep, same guy.
What's the guy's name?
Michael Marcus.
Michael Marcus.
Yeah, he's the dude that's. This was actually about the best trades, not about trading around news. So I didn't show you that first. He's saying that the best trades are those in which you have all three of those things going for you.
Yeah.
And if we're patient enough to wait for those three things to line up, all the ducks are on the pond.
I like it.
The rate of success of doing that is obviously very, very high.
Yeah, I really like that.
If you bring that back to a currency,
well, why don't we talk about the Fed from last week?
Well, there you go. Go ahead.
Well, so firstly, the fundamentals must suggest that there is going to be a movement. I mean, so what he's saying then is that you want to try and get in before the news announcement.
No, I don't think he's saying that at all.
Okay.
And this again is what he is saying is the fundamentals should suggest that there is an imbalance of supply and demand. To me, I read that as there is something. The price is too low, for instance, in terms of history, in terms of seasonality, in terms of whichever way you want to interpret that.
Yeah.
There's a disparity of some kind. And we can really all see that in overbought or oversold markets. And that, I think, is what he's talking about. So if the market's oversold, then we're really looking for the market to retrace or come back, right? And second, the chart must show that the market is moving in the direction that the fundamentals suggest. So although the market may be trending long, it's overbought, and we know we need retracement.
Yeah.
That's what I'm reading into that. And then thirdly, whatever the fundamental announcement is, it must move the market in a way that reflects the psychological tone. In other words, if for instance, let's take it to the Fed last week, and I can't. Yeah, oh, that's right. The market was overbought in terms of pound, euro, Aussie against the dollar.
Yeah.
As I recall, there was an interest rate rise about to happen, suggesting that those markets were going to pull back because they were overbought in context to an interest rate decision on the US dollar. And thirdly, when the news came out, the market should act in a way that reflects the right psychological tone. In other words, what I've just said, the psychological tone should have been that the US dollar was going to strengthen.
Yeah.
And as soon as you see all of those things, the three things combined, let me take you back to this chart. Euro, US dollar, 4-hour chart. We saw that the market was overbought on the euro. It had gone into consolidation.
Yeah.
We were expecting an interest rate rise on the dollar, which should mean that the market will fall away here. The euro dollar will fall away here. The news came out, and the market reacted exactly as it should. It started to sell off.
Yeah.
And that's where we should have been thinking short. That's what he's saying there. All of those three things combined. And if we're going to trade at all, we needed to trade short here.
So isn't his number 2 point the technicals?
Yep.
Number 2 is the technicals.
The technicals was showing the overbought market.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
So he's not
what I'm
talking about
saying.
setup. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? That makes sense. So let's see if we can put this into future context then. What do we got?
Today?
Yeah, we got services PMI from the UK. Now,
Yeah, we'll look at the 4-hour chart.
okay, so the forecast is for it to weaken.
Okay, so the market's already in that frame of mind.
So what we are looking for is, and so that's what the market is looking for. Is it? Oh, is that the dollar yen? Sorry, is that the pound yen you were just on there?
That was no, it's cable.
That's cable. What's the pound yen doing?
Pound yen.
Because that's the one we wanted to see, wasn't it? 4-hour chart, yeah. Okay, that's not doing what we want it to do.
Well, actually, this looks exactly the same as.
Oh no, it's okay, isn't it?
Week.
We've got another hour. Got another hour with that. This one I really like because you get the chance to allow that that data to come out. So effectively, if the market is expecting a miss and it misses at 9:30, at 10 o'clock, I'm talking UK time, obviously, this 4-hour bar closes. And if that 4-hour bar closes with a shooting star, that means that all those three things are in alignment.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
So I quite like that.
But you've got to wait till the news starts to move in the right direction.
Well, the news is going to be out in half an hour.
Yes, but the reaction to the news may well be, as has happened in the past frequently, it may well be counterintuitive, the reaction to the news. And until you see the market start to move in the correct psychological fashion, in other words, short, that's when you start trading it, not before.
I like that a lot.
You don't jump in on the news. You wait until it starts to move in the right direction.
Yeah.
If it goes, you've got to wait for the retracement and then jump in.
Yeah, which makes sense because it does actually, as I say, it means that this bar gets to close after the news.
Absolutely.
So you can get a setup, which is fantastic. I like it a lot. So really, I mean, we're pretty much wrap up time, but I think certainly wrapping into this bit, we'd be looking into potentially trading the pound yen short as long as we see that reversal bar and we're trading it on a 4-hour time frame.
Yep. Sounds good.
FTSE 100, I'll quickly show you. It's just it's got a little bit stuck here. Maybe to a degree anticipated. I've got a slight lack of confidence of why this would pick up, but this is fine actually. This hasn't worked out too badly because I haven't got caught into a trade that I didn't want to get caught into, and the market hasn't moved a great deal in the last hour. What can happen now is this is to flip forward. I mean, the problem is it could flip forward, news can come out and it can really go. But I'm hoping that we get one more chance to get on board here. And if we don't, then it's just going to be one of those kind of it's going to be one of those anomalies that do happen in the market and you can't do anything about. But so far, it hasn't really gone anywhere. So I'm not too bothered that I didn't manage to get that first one. But a little bit, I've got to say, I'm a little bit bothered. But I'm not too bothered about it because I think I do need to wait for that news announcement to come out, and I'm hoping to get one more opportunity. So, wrapping up with the FTSE, we are looking for longs, but we've got this market really has to come probably forward, then back again, and then we'll try and take it forward, but after the news event. So I'm going to wait till 9:30 now.
Yeah, look, I think I'm the same on the 30-minute charts, even on all of the currencies that I'm trading, the three majors and pound yen at the moment. I don't see an opportunity on the 30-minute charts. But as we've just discussed, I think they're going to come on the 4-hour charts, and if not with the next candle, then perhaps the one after that. In particular, what was the one we were looking at on the 4-hour chart? Was it? Might be the euro. Yeah, the euro it was. Okay, so I'll show you that. That's going to be my trade of the day if it sets up. So on the 4-hour chart, if this candle, current 4-hour candle, turns into a bearish bar and at least retests the side of the back side of this trend line, but better still the back side of that trend line, then that's your entry. Enter above the 2 candles there and put your stop below. That'll be the trade for me, and your target is pretty clear at monthly pivot. So that is that's where I'm at, mate.
Great. Okay, so we got those two, and obviously we're looking both looking at that pound yen as well.
Yes, after the news, most definitely, as we just mentioned. We'll see how that one pans out. Look, it looks a great place to find a short, it must be said. But I think what I'd prefer to happen, I'd prefer the news to go anti or counterintuitive, if you like, if the news is a miss. And I'd like to see the market rally and then put in a lower high and then trade it short. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay. Let's see we go. Yeah. All right, mate. Well, let's finish up for the day, and then we'll be back in tomorrow morning. See how we get on.
All right, mate. You've got more commitments tonight, have you?
I'm not going to be able to make tonight. I've actually got to go to another meeting, so I won't be in the later show. But I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure if there's a show tomorrow night, but yeah, this next one I won't be in.
Yeah, no, me either. I'm relieved of duty on that one.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a. Oh no, there is no show tomorrow night at all.
Okay.
That's on next Thursday, I think.
Okay. So we'll have a chat about what happens after 9:30 tomorrow morning. See how things shaped up in the end.
Yep. Happy days.
Great stuff. All right, buddy. All right. I'll see you in the morning. Have a good one.
Okay, mate. You too.